And now it's time to move on to our main event. Our main event features Jon Bones Jones against Vladimir the Janitor Matyushenko. And Jones is a rising superstar. There's no doubt about it. Coming into this, his last 3 wins were against Brandon Vera, who's also a solid striker, and Jones just took him down and nailed him with a vicious elbow. Did some serious damage and stopped Vera. Against Jake O'Brien, a former heavyweight, which Jones again had no trouble controlling. Took him down, beat him up again. Against Stephan Bonner, a guy who can take a lot of punishment, Jones dished it out and just handed it to him that way. His only loss in his career, he's 10-1, was against Matt Hamill. Disappointing. I had Jones in that fight. It was a DQ. I think anybody who watched that fight saw that Jon Jones was well on his way to picking up the victory. He was pounding him out some, 12-6 elbows. Questionable disqualification. It was one of those things that's just like, wow, it's too bad. Jones that took the loss very gracefully, but definitely I think he was well on his way to picking up the victory in that fight. Vladimir Matyushenko, 39 years old, he's getting up there. He has 2 victories in the UFC in his most recent trip through. His last fight was against Elliot Marshall. He won a split decision, but he used a very defensive style to avoid and kind of pick apart his opponent. Jones will not give him that possibility. Jones comes at you. He throws everything he has. He throws that vicious spinning elbow, takedowns, brutal throws, whatever it takes, he will throw it at you. And I think that's what I'm looking at here. Matyushenko is not going to be able to stand back and pick apart Jones. Jones will just keep coming. And I think that Jones is just going to overwhelm the Janitor and push the pace, wear him out, and eventually, whether it's a ground and pound or it's going to be a knockout on the feet, I think that Jones will win this fight probably by stoppage. First or second round, I don't see this fight going to the 3rd round. And even though coming into this fight, Matyushenko's got a lot more experience than Jones, I think Jones is an up-and-comer. And I think after this fight here, this victory, I think Jones will be ready to step up and maybe take on one of the top guns in the UFC light heavyweight division. Summary, the first online predictions I'm making this year, 4 fights. The first fight is I'm taking in the lightweight division Tyson Griffin to take out Takanori Gomi. In the second fight, the welterweight division, John Howard against Jake Ellenberger. I'm picking Ellenberger to pick up the victory in that one. In the co-main event, the middleweight division, Yushin Thunder Okami versus Mark the Filipino Wrecking Machine Munoz. I'm taking Munoz in a minor upset, in my opinion, minor anyway, to defeat Okami. And in the main event, rising light heavyweight superstar Jon Bones Jones will take out the Janitor Vladimir Matyushenko fairly handily, in my opinion. Now, looking at the odds, I'm going to kick it off with the Jake Ellenberger-John Howard matchup. Howard pays $2.25 to 1, while Ellenberger pays $1.57. I'll be taking Ellenberger, obviously, at $1.57. I think that's a representation of his skill set, and I think that's a fair price for Ellenberger. And $1.57, it's not a bad way to kick off a parlay bet. The second fight of the night I'm looking at right now is the co-main event. I'm skipping a fight. I'll get back to it in a second. Mark Munoz versus Okami. Yushin Okami pays $1.45. Well, Mark Munoz pays $2.55. I think this is a misrepresentation of the gap in talent here. I don't think there's that big of a gap. I could have seen Munoz down around 2 and Yushin Okami a little bit lower than that, obviously. But at Mark Munoz at $2.55, I'm more than willing to take Munoz at that price and add it to my card. The $2.55 really added to my ability to take Munoz and look at this. Even if I wasn't as sure as I am he's going to pick up the victory, I would still take him because it has the best value for your dollar in that situation. And at $2.55, it's a great odd for Mark Munoz versus Yushin Okami. In the main event, speaking of great odds, this is not a great odd here. Jon Bones Jones pays $1.14, while the Janitor pays a very hefty $4.90. A mismatch with regard to odds. Usually I would stay away from something as low as $1.14, but because there's only 4 fights I'll be betting on, and I'm very certain that Jones is going to pick up the victory, I think the $1.14 certainly pads your final payout. It doesn't add a lot, and it adds a lot more risk than anything, but I'm still willing to take Jon Jones for this fight at $1.14. Now, the other fight that's on this card is Tyson Griffin versus Takanori Gomi. As I said earlier, Griffin is stepping in for Joe Stevenson, and as a result, the odds aren't up yet. They just took down the Stevenson Gomi odds, and they haven't put the Griffin Gomi odds up yet. I'm guessing, in my opinion, I think Griffin will be a slight favorite. I have him coming in between $1.70 and $1.80 in that range somewhere. It could be a pick-em. I'm not 100% sure there. We'll see how the odds makers feel, because a lot of it can be based on public opinion and the fact that Gomes looked so poor in his last fight, and his first fight really in North America and mainstream television. It could put the onus on Griffin as the favorite in the minds of the general public. So looking at the overall bet card, the first fight, Jake Ellenberger paying $1.57. That's followed up by my estimation of Tyson Griffin around $1, let's say $1.75, $1.80. Mark Munoz, my upset of the night, paying $2.55, and finally Jon Jones paying $1.14. That puts you roughly in at, let's say $8.25 is your overall price. Let's slap down a nice even number of $100, and you're looking at approximately $820, $830 payout based on the Tyson Griffin odds. Hopefully they're in that range. I will certainly be back for UFC 117 making predictions. I'll do a quick recap of what I did on the Versus event. I'll keep a running record, hopefully a payout total. Hopefully I make you guys some money. Definitely want to make myself some money doing this, and I appreciate you taking the time to check out my UFC predictions, and I will see you in about a week's time.